Welcome to Massive Talk, where big ideas take flight. In our inaugural episode, join us, the dynamic duo Jennifer and Naos, for a 30-minute joyride through captivating conversations. We explore my new jet job, the art of giving, and why society flourishes when we give instead of demand. Massive Talk is a segue of tiny little victories, capturing everyday thoughts about society.
You are listening to Tiny Little Victories, and you are listening to Massive Talk, which is an episode within an episode of Tiny Little Victories. Is that so meta? Does that blow your mind? I am your host, Jennifer Kite-Powell, and today I will be joined by my co-host, Naos Wilbrink. He's a pilot, and he just got a really cool jet job flying very wealthy people around the country who don't want to stand in line at airports. I mean, that's kind of simplistic, but if you can afford to fly a private jet, you probably don't want to stand in a line at an airport. Anyway, we're very happy for him. And I wanted to introduce this new segment to you because I have known Naos for a very long time. And one of the things I really appreciate about him is his ability to look at every issue from every different side. He has a lot of empathy. He has a lot of thoughts. He believes that we should be talking as a society instead of not talking, which I believe in. So we created Massive Talk to talk about massive issues that are affecting us today. Our homes, our personal lives, how we relate with people, how we relate with the environment, maybe how we relate with robots, just about anything. It's also an episode where we want you, our listeners, to write into us and give us issues that you would like us to talk about, and perhaps we'll even bring you onto the show to interact with us. So with no further ado, I bring you the very first episode inside an episode called Massive Talk. Hey everybody, welcome back to Tiny Little Victories. I am your host, Jennifer Kite-Powell, and this is the very, very first segment inside of Tiny Little Victories called Massive Talk.
Massive Talk.
And that is our other co-host,
Naos Wilbrink, and I'm so happy to be here.
Yay! I hope you guys remember him. Naos is the pilot. It's from actually the episode was called The Pilot, and it is still the most popular, most streamed, most listened to podcast of all 3 seasons. Boop, boop,
Yes.
boop.
Fa, 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 fa. I'm not competitive at all.
Why do you think that is? And remember, this is Massive Talk. So we're massively talking about things we think are massively important.
Massively important. Yes.
Did when we thought about this, we were thinking we have so many things to say, right?
Yes.
We have so much to say, and we want to say it because I bet you other people are maybe thinking the things we want to say.
I think so, because a lot
They're
of people are not saying things because they're afraid or they don't know who to talk to, or it's an unsafe subject. So we're just going to bring those subjects to light, and then people can speak with their votes, right?
I like that. We may have another guest that may join in here because I leave my house unlocked, and sometimes people just come in with like lamps. Oh, there's my security system talking about someone leaving through the back door. So there you go. You never know. And that's how massively we're going to be managing this podcast right now, which I think is a lot of fun. Well, let's just get the elephant right out of the bag right away. You got a jet job.
I did. I'm so happy and excited about this. Last time we talked, I was talking about how in my career I got to where I am, and that's a survey pilot, building hours to become a airline pilot. And I don't know, I forgot how much I disclosed of the whole journey. But
you disclosed everything. You were full disclosure.
Full disclosure, everything.
Yeah, you were all disclosed.
Now, my former boss had promised me some multi-times in a multi-engine, which is still a piston plane. And for some reason, that didn't go through. Now, I met his other pilot that took that job. And we were sitting there, it's like, and having a conversation, and said, well, everything happens for a reason. And I started thinking about it, and that's exactly what happened. Because I didn't get that job, I went to, what do you call that? To find a new one. And
of course.
I found this one. And
One door
they
closes, you get a new one.
exactly. So I was flown to Columbus, Ohio, and there had the interview. And a
Hmm.
week later, I was doing a drug test to make sure that I'm good to fly.
Amazing. That's amazing. And so let's back up a little bit because everybody hears a jet job, and I wonder what they thought: jet ski, jet boots, a jet job. You're flying a Challenger 300. Like, is that the Fred Flintstone plane where you like push the pedals, or is this like a jet
Yeah.
jet?
Yes.
How many people can get on this jet?
I think it's about a 9-seater. It's a big jet.
Okay.
It's a super mid-sized jet, and it can
Okay.
fly. It's a Challenger 300 and Challenger 350, and it flies like North America easily. It could do New York to
Okay.
Western Europe, and
But for
those are
9
kind of the
people, how many
distance.
people? 9 people?
Yeah, in different
Oh, wait.
configurations. Yeah, you can
Sorry.
have.
You gonna who like you can fly to Europe from here on a mid-sized jet with only 9 people?
Yeah, these are people that have a little more money
Oh.
than the regular people like me,
Oh, okay.
and
So these are fancy people. Not necessarily classy, but fancy people.
these are fancy. These are people who like their privacy and
Okay.
who don't want to fly through major airports.
Oh my God, what spoiled little babies.
I know. Well, do you like going to big airports though?
Not really, but I just kind of tune it out. And actually, since this is massive talk and we're massively talking about your awesome new job, yay,
Mhm.
and you're flying these mid-sized jets for very fancy people. Speaking of jets and people landing them in Las Vegas this week is the last of the U.S. Formula One Grand Championship race. And
Yes.
they closed down the town, and all the people with private jets are like, we have to go to another airport because we can't land our jet because they closed it. Are these your clients?
Chirp, 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 chirp. Cricket, cricket.
It's,
Cricket, cricket.
cricket sound right here. I'd play it right now.
That's good. Yeah,
Okay, so these
those
are
would be
your
the
clients.
clients. And
Okay.
I know the landing fee for because I wanted to fly there just in I want to take my wife flying this weekend,
Yeah, I love
and
that.
yeah, it was going to be fun, and I wanted to actually go to Vegas because
Yeah, not happening.
no, because the landing fee, even a touch and go, so you're not
Yeah.
even landing, you're just touching like the runway and then going again,
Yeah.
is an average like $3,000 just for
Excuse
doing
me.
that.
It costs $3,000 just to land, touch your wheels down, and get off and go again. Are you kidding me?
During this event,
During
every
this event, so they can. So this is like surge pricing.
oh, absolutely, yeah. Normally it's free,
What?
so yeah.
Okay. This is a massive issue. Like, I am shocked. So people want to fly their little private planes into Formula One, and they can't. But if they could, it would cost them $3,000 in
At
this
least,
private plane surge pricing scheme.
yes, at least
Wow.
$3,000. That's where it
That's
starts.
a
So
lot of money flying out of people's pockets for a little bit of vanity.
I don't even know if some people notice that amount of money.
No, that's a
That
good point because they're so entitled.
yeah, they have it and it's there and it's rolling in. Actually, that was something, and it sounds like a bridge of something that we did not even pre-discuss at all. But there is an element of that I wanted to bring up, and that has to do
Entitlement?
with well entitlement, but also I mean with wealth and
Oh, okay.
yeah, how some companies they make so much money and it only goes to one person or a group of people where they're all scalable companies. And I think basically everything that scales and then you only need a few people to do a massive amount of work, I think that should be taxed differently.
I agree. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Wealth is all fracked up here, right, in the States, because to me it should be taxed differently. Like, to me, you should tax the wealthy more money instead of like giving them more tax breaks to get out of paying money, because the
hmm
poor and the middle class are paying more taxes. There's not a lot of breaks for them. And yes, just as a caveat to everybody, I am not accountant or a tax attorney. So whatever I
No.
say is what I learned watching television. So,
Right.
and doing my own taxes. So
I think there was
take it
two things that
seriously.
come to mind. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, but one was it Henry Ford. The story was Henry Ford and the union worker were walking past all the cars, and he said, look at this automation, and look at all this. I won't need any people, so you can like you
Fire
won't have
everybody.
anything. Yeah, fire everyone. And then the union worker said, yeah, but who's going to buy your car? Because if no one has a job,
Right.
like who's going to purchase it? So
Yeah,
there's
because
something there.
there is something there. I love that you brought that up. I love that you said that, because a lot of those industrialists at the time, when that was the time labor parties were actually forming, that they were
Hmm.
like, we're not going to pay you a penny more. You continue to work 12-hour days. And they're like, yeah, but who's going to ride these railroads when you put them in? And, if nobody's going to be doing these jobs because they're all maimed and they can't work and the industry moves on, like, how are you going to continue to build? It's the
Yes.
same concept. And
Yes.
if we want to take it to a more like, it's kind of tangible, then we're talking railroads, we're talking, Model T Fords. That's the first, like, automation line. But you could take your point of wealth and come to where we are today. It's like, who's gonna purchase that ISP? Who's gonna purchase that bandwidth? Like, who's gonna
Yeah.
pay more for fiber? Who's going to, if you have a cord cutter, like, are people just gonna keep, like, gobbling up, pay per month streaming services? Actually, it turns out, yes, they are. So, who's gonna buy that if things turn against the consumer and more towards the shareholder? I guess maybe it doesn't matter anymore, because it doesn't look like people really care.
No, that's what I was, because I'm a new person to the United States, right? So
Yes,
I'm looking
welcome,
at the
welcome to the
states.
country.
Thank you, thank you. And I'm just viewing it, and what I'm kind of seeing is that there's like at least a split down the middle of people who work in tech and
Yeah,
offices versus people
yeah,
who work in like car mechanics, plumbers, and everything else. And
yeah,
that's split right there. And now what happened is, I think everyone who worked in like the scalable business side, their salaries have gone up tremendously, and they can
yeah.
afford all those streaming services and all those things. But the ones that are on the bottom half of that fold, they don't have that scalability, so they can't scale the
Yeah.
business. There's not more hours in the day. So I'm wondering, how are you going to
Yes.
solve that disparity?
I don't know, but it's a really good point, because I do see the gap getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
I mean, I had someone recently approach me about doing some writing for them, and they said, I'm very competitive rate. And I saw it and I was like, what? For who? Like, what century is this money in?
I'm curious now.
Well, I mean, it was $25 an hour.
Mm,
And I'm like, did you email the wrong person? But you know what? I get it. Like, everybody wants to make a lot of content. Everybody's looking for a writer, but like, you can't live like here. I think in the States, like, the livable wage is something like $60,000. If you make less than $60,000 a year, you really can't afford to do anything, buy a house, save money. Like, it's very, very difficult. That used to be a lot of money.
yes, absolutely. Then in California, I think they have upped that
Oh my
to
God.
if you earn a five-figure income or six-figure, what was it? Then that was the big goal. But I think now that's the baseline here. Yeah. But anyway,
Oh,
yeah.
we should look that up on the old Googler while we're talking the cost of living in California. Oh yeah, the average cost of living is $53,082.
Oh, okay.
Like,
That's
what the hell? That's 2023. Oh, I'm going to have to mark this expletive. But that's the average cost of living. But it says here that the single person needs to earn upwards of 80,000 a year to live comfortably in California. So comfortably in
wow.
California, like, think about it. How much would you? I think about that. I laugh a lot when I lived in New York City. They're like, "This is affordable housing." I'm like, "You guys are asking for $5,000 in rent.
I
Like,
know.
what? How is that someone that's basically living on a average cost of living? You can't afford that."
Yes. No, no, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely, it's a different economy. Like, it just
Yeah, and
exists
it's funny
next
because,
to the other one.
yeah, and you're in California and I'm in Texas, and
Yes.
actually, like, somebody's listening to us, some AI is listening, but the next thing that came up was, it cheaper to live in California or Texas? I'm like, okay, Google AI. It just says Texas is more affordable across the board, but cost of living does not capture the quality of life, and that's the thing right there. Like, what are people entitled to? What's a quality of life? Is a quality of life being able to send your kids to school, put groceries on the table, have
Hmm.
affordable health care? Oh my God, look where we're going. We're massively talking about wealth,
Massive subject.
massive subjects. Yeah. Do you think people? I mean, this is something that you had mentioned before. And just so everybody knows, we didn't rehearse this. We didn't really have topics. Naos had a few that he thought would be great. And so this kind of dovetails back into that. But you had said that when it comes to society, that nobody's doing anything anymore. It's like people aren't doing stuff, like doing things. Is this because
Doing
we're too
things.
busy
Yes.
or we're too sedated from social or
Yeah, that's one because I have time, right? I have a lot of time to think when I'm flying or
yeah,
when doing other things. I have time to reflect,
yeah,
and usually it starts with something that I think of because I think what the USA is great at is actually doing things. So if I look at, and I'll come to my point in a second. So the States, and to me, is a great country because you were built on doers for the longest time. And then for Europe, it was all about thinking. We think about these elements. And I saw that back in my household because my wife, when she wanted to paint, then she would just pick up a brush and get the paint and she would start painting. And as she came across different obstacles and different elements that were there, she'd just move them or tape it or do whatever and then just paint away. However, if that was me, I would stop, wait, make a plan. I'll go, okay, we need to buy paper. We need to buy masking tape. We need to put this here and we need to put it there. Oh, is that a good day? And what is the moisture? What is this? What is that? All these other elements. End of the day, maybe the paint job would have lasted a year longer. However, it would not be on there at all to start with. And that is what I'm trying to get to, is that a lot of people now have been what is it? Just they're sitting and they're scared of doing something because they don't want to do the wrong thing. They don't want to make a
yeah.
fool of themselves, or they don't think they're worth it, or they don't think they can or they're allowed to.
Yeah.
I think that's the part, going on a bit of a rant, but I think a
No,
lot of
I
people are
think I
looking
think
for permission.
you're massively talking about something that is a really interesting subject, and I think this is
Yeah.
why you and I wanted to do this. Just so everybody knows, we talked about this a lot because it's like you have this time in the air. These are things that come across our head, and if we're not talking and sharing them as a community or as consider, if we're not sharing things that are in our head, they become more real to me when you talk about them, right?
Yes.
When you
Yes.
say them out loud, it allows for a discussion.
Correct. And discussion goes to reflection, goes to change, or action goes to change. So that's what I would like to get back to, is the doing element. So
Mhm.
I I came across a post I did 8 years ago on Facebook, and I said, "Does anyone have suggestions what flight school to go to? I want to learn how to fly." Had I not taken any steps and just kept that dream of oh, maybe one day, but had I not taken the next step and the next step and the next step to do something and figure out the path, because it wasn't a
Yeah.
straight path. Everyone always thinks like, oh, you start here and then you go there and then it's a straight line and you have to follow that trajectory. It goes with setbacks, and so people are already taking it back because they feel judged for taking the next step, because other people who aren't in the game, like I think Brene Brown says it very well, if you're not in the arena, you don't get to judge. If you're not playing, like, don't even listen to those people who aren't, because you need to make your own path, make that step, and keep going forward. Like what you're
No, I
doing with
agree
this
with that.
podcast.
I
Yeah.
agree with that. I love her. I love what she says. But I love your point about the flying and taking the initiative, because so many times I think people, like, they have these ideas in their heads, like they're thinking about doing things, and like you said, they can't do them. They have the imposter syndrome. They don't see other people like themselves at the table that are doing them. Maybe you don't see another woman at the table, or maybe you don't see another Latina at the table. Maybe you don't see another someone that has, like, pronouns after their name at the table, whatever it is,
Hmm.
gender, race. And so you think you're not worthy, or you think you couldn't do it, when in fact, if you just kept pursuing it like you did, look where you are now. You got a jet job, driving around a super mid-sized jet with a whole bunch of really wealthy people who don't like to go to airports. Like, but you are still doing your dream. Like, you did this because you made it happen. In a way, you manifested it because you spoke about it, you talked about it. And to your point of doing stuff like this podcast, I can't tell you how many people are like this. oh, that's going to take a lot of work. That's a lot of time. Are you going to
Hmm.
make money? Why would you do it if you didn't make money? I'm like, well, first of all, I like it. I like doing it. I enjoy it. I get a little high from it. I love talking to people and sharing their stories. So for me, that's a reward. Secondly, I don't know that I'm going to make money at it. That wasn't my priority. My priority was to do something that supported my creator self, who I
Hmm.
was as a creator. And I felt like that is a big payment. Of course, I have other work that I do, but this is 100%, something that I want to do and I need to do for myself in order to tell the stories of people, because without talking and without sharing, I think that society will collapse or downgrade or continue to collapse, because in my view, we are way too digitally forward on
Yes.
our screens, putting emojis by things, and we like things. Like, I can't stand that. And I recently had knee surgery, and I gave keys to 8 people in my house. One person who just walked through here, I saw him go straight to the kitchen just a second ago. And during that time, I didn't really ask for help. I gave everybody keys just in case, something happened. People showed up with ice, with food, because they would
Hmm.
just come in. This person in particular, he would come and sit at this desk at my studio and he would work. And then every now and then, when I'd wake up from the pills, he'd go, I'll just put some more ice in your ice man. He'd put it in, go back to work. I woke up one time, there were 4 people sitting in my bedroom. You ready for some
That
food?
is,
And then we talked about like politics and something else. And I was like, then I would go back to sleep because I take my pills. And I thought, how did that happen? Like, where does
that
that
is
happen?
amazing. Yes. Now that is
Yeah.
great, and that is part of society that you've created and allowed to create with openness. Like you
Yeah.
literally had fun. You gave people literal keys to your life and let them in,
Yeah, and I
and they
love that.
respected
I
it.
know a lot of people would.
Yes.
Yeah, they did. And one person actually lives at the other end of the street, and my friend Mohammed, who lives across the street with his husband Matthew, and Mohammed had never met Kyle, and they were both here. And he goes, "Are you Mohammed? Are you Kyle?" And they were like, "Yeah, oh my God, I've been hearing a lot about you." And so I was listening from my recovery bed of all of these beautiful humans in my house, sort of like a little, like, a traffic light, people moving through, people coming out. At one point, I opened my eyes and my friend Marty from 2 doors down said, "I'm just changing your eyes. Go back to sleep."
Aw.
And I feel like that's why I recovered so quickly. But
Yes.
oh my God. This in the age of like social media, it felt completely unheard of. And also I felt very, I hate to use this word, but blessed in a way. And
Sure.
it's remarkable. I had to
But
write like literally 20, thank you notes. So many thank you notes.
yeah, so what I hear in your story is no entitlement in there. And in the sense that you did not expect people to do that. You did not
No.
mandate people to do that. You did not say, I am dependent on you. I need
Yeah.
you to do these things. People showed
Yeah.
up because you gave them the opportunity to show up. And I think people inherently want to help and want to
I
do the right
agree with
thing.
you. I completely agree with you. And I think about also my fear of asking for help, giving people
Mm,
keys. Hey, if some chicken on me, if something happens, and then just, what do you need? And I had a hard time at first saying what I needed. But then people just they obviously saw she needs to keep that ice full in that ice machine. We'll just put ice in there. And then
mm,
someone drug a cooler in here and put the cooler by my bed and put ice in it. And then I opened the fridge, there's food in the fridge. And then another lady said, I found this little styrofoam cooler and I put some ice and I put some chopped cheese in the fridge for you. Bye. And I was like, who was that again? and I, and I don't think the people that I've talked to afterwards said like it was really a very special moment for them too, just to be with other people and to just have this moment of where you're having conversation. Like you said, they're helping people. I didn't ask them for those things. They just did it.
no. So this is another element that people get. So I know a lot of people are. I know people close to me. They're struggling. I've had ups and downs myself in life, like everyone. And one thing I've always noticed, and I'm bringing it a little bit back to acting, is that same thing of helping. You won't stay down if you are helping other people.
That's true.
If you don't know what to do, go out there and do something to help someone else. If you can't
Yeah.
help yourself, help someone else, and that will help you. Yeah.
Definitely connected. Those are very tight DNA strands, in my opinion.
Yeah,
You are helping yourself when you're helping other people, for sure.
exactly. Yeah. Oh, good. Well, we have a consensus on it. So
Glad we
I
can
hope.
be curious to know what other people think. So we do have a lot of people asking questions and stuff now on the podcast. So if you guys have a question about that, or you have a story you want to tell, please, please, please tell us. And on the next episode, Naos and I will talk about it. So we'll put that in the notes. But anything you want us to talk about, or anything you want to write in about, please, please, please let us know, because we want to talk about it. We massively want to talk about it. Now I'm going to reverse it back, and I'm going to ask you a question, because you brought, speaking of entitlement, something again that you brought
Mhm.
up, because entitlement can, touch on many different things. But you mentioned entitlement. Okay, so you're a bonus father. You're a
Yes.
bonus father. So you want to explain that to everybody, and then we'll talk about where this entitlement concept came from.
Okay, yes. A bonus father. So I married my wife. My wife had 5 children. The oldest 3 were adopted from Russia. The youngest 2, biologically hers and her late husband's. Her husband died in a car crash when the youngest was 4 years old. And then a couple of years later, she moved to Amsterdam, and that's when I met her. And I thought, oh, that's great.
That's
Let's
all that
let's
is,
be a
because
bonus father.
you guys are a lovely, lovely couple. Like, honestly, like,
Yes.
in the couple world, as I rank couples, I put you guys up there, and there's not that many I put up there, so you're up there. You're
Oh,
just lovely.
yeah.
You're really supportive of
I
each other. Yeah.
I love to win, so I love to win this one too. Yeah. Anyway, so I was at first when I joined the family, I didn't feel very much like a parent. Maybe I was a parental figure, but I didn't feel like a father because you're just starting out and you're trying to find your role. However, we did start getting mail from the school, and the school would write, "Dear parents and or guardians," and I'll tell you why this is why it comes full circle for me, because they chose to be inclusive in the language back then. So we're talking about 10, 15 years ago. And I remember it from when I was a kid that it would actually state "dear parents and or guardians." And being a guardian, you don't have to be a parent to care for a kid, and they are included in that language. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that you said that. You don't have to be a parent you don't have to be, you can be a guardian and still care for people.
yes. So if you fast forwarded, and I had this discussion about, because last time I talked about the LGBTQ church that I went
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
in Long Beach, right? City church Long Beach, and of course we have a lot of talk about gender and about gender identity and about pronouns, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
And um,
The church does talk about that.
oh yes, yes, they're
I like
very open
that.
about it, and everyone is respectful to each other,
I
and
love
but
that.
they are respectful by choice, and this is why I think it comes full circle, where you don't demand that people use a certain pronoun. You don't
Mhm.
say, "Oh, you must address me as this." It's like you can
Mhm.
say, "I identify like this. I would like to
Mhm.
be called this."
Yeah.
And from here on, it's up to the other person to give that, to present that,
Yes.
because I think
What's the right word? I don't know. Maybe.
what's that?
I said is gift. It's like you're gifting it. Like, if someone says I identify this way, then I should be sensitive enough to understand that, yes, of course, I need to do that, and I respect that, because that is how they identify, and that's
Hmm.
important to them. So, as to me, as being a considerate person in society, I want to do that. It's
Yes,
hard.
you want to
Yeah, it's
give that. You want to be the right. Yeah. So and I think rather than having all these, because we went into like tech, right? And it's binary. And I think I went off a tangent with a CRM system and collecting data like it's either that or this, and it is a very binary structure because we created all those. And right now people are crying. A lot of people are crying for attention in a way, and they demand certain space, which I can understand that if you don't haven't gotten it, you want to scream louder. But in order
hard.
to land in the middle, we have to come down again and wonder. what it is that keeps a society together. And it's not a demand of each other, right? It's not, you cannot keep a society together when everyone demands something else from each other.
No,
And
I agree
it's
with
about
that.
gifting each other. And that's what you had in your little, in your society, where people
Yeah.
come together and they give you things because they want to help. They want to be there. And
You know what?
maybe they, yeah, go ahead.
This No, you go ahead because I just got chill bumps when you said that, but that I hadn't thought about it this way, but the words you put around it's like you can't live in a society that just demands things. You have to gift each other. And that is that phrase right there, that action, that
Hmm.
momentum, that it is truly a gift. And I love the way you're saying this because anytime you see society demanding things, demanding, that's when we end up in a lot of fear, and fear
Yes.
leads to hate, hate leads to anger, and anger leads to the dark side. Sorry, Star Wars reference. But it's so true. Fear is such a crippling emotion, and it breeds so much that we see in the world right now, like so much
Yes.
fear. I mean, we're not going to talk about Israel and Palestine right now, but like the amount of demands and the amount of things that are happening, there's no gifting going on, at all. And
No,
from even
no.
people that aren't involved over there, like we've lost this ability to understand the value of gifting each other the beauty of consideration, of life,
Hmm.
of just honoring the fact that you needed something, whether it's a pronoun or, a moderation or just an understanding of how you create or why you want to fly a plane or, everything if you wake up in the morning, basically waking up is a gift to me. Like, and what can you do to spread that? And I just feel like we're not spreading. We're literally like Pac-Manning it away in a bad place.
Yes.
Pac-Manning it
We
away.
are Pac-Man and away. I think that should be a new term. That will be
Thank
a
you.
new.
Pac-Manning it
Yes,
away.
I like that because I do see, because I'm here and you said it. I'm in this in Southern California. It's actually raining right now, which I'm quite
Oh, in
like.
California. I thought
I
it never
know.
rained. What's that
No,
song
but
coming out soon?
I'm like excited for the rain at this stage.
Yeah. They got some good rain.
Yeah, but and here I do I what I miss so is everyone is like in their house. They're on their
Yeah.
devices. After 6 o'clock, nothing happens. When I'm talking
Yeah.
6 o'clock, at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
and and uh and and people are drawn into their screens, and I'm like, oh please, I'm
Yeah.
not saying I'm not in the screen, but I recognize it and I'm working on it. But we need to get out of that screen and look each other in the eye. And I don't know. I don't know. We need to change. We need to change to gift each other time and attention and effort.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you created an image in my mind when you said they're on their screens. They go at 6 o'clock. It's a very and you can just see everybody. They go to their screens, and we're not even saying TV now. We're saying
Mm-mm.
screen, right? Well, you probably know this, but Dharma Bums was written in 1958 by one of my favorite authors, Jack Kerouac, and it was such an interesting book because one of the things that bugged him so much about society at the time is that he was like riding the railroads and hanging out with hobos and like, finding his way around things and meeting all these crazy new people. And he said, as he would get off these trains, sometimes he would walk around and he would walk down these streets and see this eerie blue glow coming out of every single house. And that was television because it had
Wow.
just novel was written in 1958, and he was talking about in this book, this character was talking about how people would become just like zombies, right? And
Yeah.
he was so stressed about this book, this character, this semi-fictional account of Jack Kerouac, but this was obviously Jack Kerouac's voice. And I think that was 1958, and now today, you said at 6 o'clock those screens go on. It's the same,
Literally. Yeah.
probably worse.
It's just worse.
Same blue, yeah, same blue screens. And that digital um, needle, that screen needle in our
Hmm.
arm is not something we're pulling out unless you have to limit yourself and say, you know what, after 6, I'm not turning on a screen, right? Unless I'm working on
Exactly.
something. And it's discipline. And it's been given to us. It was given to us, which we didn't ask for, but now it's all the time. My mother was here during my surgery, and she would say, "I'm so tired. I'm going to go to bed." After we would watch a little something, and she would say, "I'm so sleepy," and she'd go to her room, and I'd hear her, and I hear like many things of TikTok. Just
Oh
she has here
no, yeah.
like one loud TikTok after another. I'm like, "Well, how the double HE hockey sticks are you sleeping if you're looking at a screen?"
Yep. Yeah, you're not. And I'm the last person to really lay into that because I'm guilty of those things as well.
Yeah,
However,
everybody is.
it is an addiction, isn't it? Though
Yeah,
it's a societal addiction, and it's a way to keep us docile and unengaged,
absolutely.
and we don't
And
get band together.
no, we don't. We don't get the band together. And I
Mm-mm.
think I've said this before on a number of podcasts, but there were, George Orwell and Aldous Huxley were
Yes.
relations anyway, and they had two different approaches to technology at the time. And technology during that time was TV or all the other things that were happening. It obviously wasn't where we were now. And they thought that we would react to society in different ways. One, Orwell thought we'd reject it, and there would be no way that we would accept this like prepackaged news. And that was
Mm-hmm.
news at the time when TV was black and white, before we
Yep.
had 90 million channels, when we had 3 channels maybe. And Huxley said, no, we're going to let it all roll over us. We're going to be absorbed by it. We're going to be addicted to it. And we're going to become one basically with the fabric of the chair. There's a cartoon that someone had drawn. And the scary
Yep.
thing is it wasn't the first. And if you read the difference between both of their novels, like Orwell's always like fighting the man and don't let the man tell you what to do. And we're going to resist it.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not. We don't. We haven't.
No, we
We,
don't.
we never will. I
Yeah,
don't think we can.
I don't think we can. But I think this is where this is the dichotomy, though, and it's a whole new topic. So maybe that's for another time. But it
Okay.
is
Let's talk
where
about
I believe, yeah, where the government is an organization that was built by the people for the people to protect the people from dangers, from big organizations. So
yeah.
you could argue that, but maybe that's for another time.
Well, I like it because I think we should talk about it because there's a lot going on. Governments were meant to protect, but now governments are part of the problem. Like it scares me that I would think the government's going to decide what a policy on AI is, or the government already has proven that we had a virus and we didn't know what to do. Like we were like killing each other over toilet paper, lack of toilet
Oh
paper.
yeah.
Like there's literally no government now that I think that has my best interest in mind at all. So I think we should talk about it because we're getting close to the end of this podcast. So I
Mhm.
guess one of the things for this massive talk, like what is this week, now that you've got your dream job, you're flying around in the air, like is there anything other than this great phrase that you left behind about not demand things but gift each other? Is there anything that we want to leave with the people that are listening to this podcast about what they can do in the world, or if they're feeling a certain way, there are things they can do to change the way they're feeling? Is that a little pop psychology maybe? I don't know.
It's definitely pop psychology, but I think in that end, if anyone is looking for a sign to change, to start a change, to do something, I would urge people just do it. Like, do what you think you are going to do. Don't be afraid of what people are
I
going to
love
say.
that.
Don't be afraid of what's going on. Just if you have that one thought in your mind, don't kill anyone. But if you have that one thought in your mind, just
Just
just act on it.
I really love that because I did a podcast. It's a really great podcast coming out in next week. It's called "In Diversity We Trust." It's with two amazing women in the UK that are advocates for diversity and inclusion and equality. One of them is neurodiverse. She's LGBTQ. She has dyslexia. She was diagnosed with autism. She's a DevOps engineer, and she's like crushing it, like across the board.
Awesome.
and
Awesome.
and and Rosemary Wilson is an advocate for inclusion, imposter syndrome. She's written a book about imposter syndrome, and they were talking about the one way to survive in the world and the way to be with your fellow humans is to be true and authentic with yourself, to not
Hmm.
hide behind, and to let whatever these things that you think society deems as demons are inappropriate, to not stand behind them but stand in front of them and say, I am these things, but I am still part of the fabric of this society. And to be shining, to not dim your light. And you know, that movie, Dirty Dancing, is the best line ever. Don't put baby in a corner. Like,
Don't put
don't put
baby in a
yourself,
corner.
don't
Yep.
put baby in a corner.
Yep.
I love that.
That's a great ending.
I feel this is a good massive talk. We massively talked about massive subjects.
Yeah, I'm curious if other people are thinking this is complete BS or if they are liking it.
Me too. Well, we know that you're very popular, so we're going to get this out there soon. And like I said to everybody, write to Naos and I, and we will answer your questions, and we will talk about anything you want to talk about. Love to have your feedback. We would really, really love it. It's part of the conversation. And if you impress us, we'll just have you on the show, right? Why not?
Exactly. Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Bring it
All
on.
right. Well, see you in the friendly skies, my friend.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. Have a great rest of your day and week, and do something, right?
Okay. Do something, right? Do something great. Let's go.
Let's go.
Hello, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this inaugural episode of Massive Talk on Tiny Little Victories with Naos Wilbrink. If you really like the episode and you'd like to contribute more, you can go to your favorite podcast app. Spotify is where our central location is, and you can comment. You can comment on the podcast. You can make suggestions for us. If there's things that you'd like to hear us talk about on the next episode of Massive Talk, you can go ahead and send us a little love letter. You can also go to tinylittlevictoriespodcast.com and you can get in touch with us there. But one of the ways that we can spread the joy of conversations with people is sharing. So if you could rate, share, like, comment, love, hug, kiss Tiny Little Victories on your favorite podcast app, we would have a warm glow inside of us. Isn't that great? So we will see you on the next episode of Tiny Little Victories featuring Massive Talk.